I deeply regret cheating on and divorcing my husband, thinking he'd never change or love me like he used to, but now he's thriving without me. And I don't know how to win him back or seek forgiveness without crossing boundaries or making things worse. During the pandemic, my husband developed a serious dependence on weed. Before that, we'd casually smoke maybe once a month, usually after dinner on a weekend when we had no plans. It felt easy, harmless, even a way to connect. We'd watch a movie, make popcorn, and laugh at silly jokes. But when everything slowed down with the lockdowns, something shifted in him. At first, he started smoking a bit more, perhaps a few times a week. That quickly became daily, and it never really went back to how it was. I remember watching it unfold slowly, feeling helpless. We were both home a lot, and initially, I tried to be understanding. The world felt heavy, and maybe this was his way of coping. But days turned into weeks, then months. He stopped doing much else. His job went remote, and I think the lack of routine worsened things. I'd finish a video call and find him on the couch, zoned out in the same spot, the room smelling of stale smoke. He tried to stop a few times. I encouraged him, reminding him how he used to love things like hiking, tinkering in the garage, and exploring new restaurants. He'd agree, get rid of his stash, and promise it was the last time. But by the next weekend, I'd find a new pipe in a drawer or a grinder in the kitchen. He'd apologize and promise again. I don't think I truly grasped how much our bond was weakening until I started feeling profoundly lonely. We'd once been so close, playful, and affectionate. Always touching in small ways, like him reaching for my hand while I stirred pasta or kissing the top of my head as he walked behind me. That faded into silence. He still occupied the same space, but it felt like being with a ghost. He didn't want to do anything together. I'd suggest a walk or dinner out once things reopened, and he'd either say he was too tired or agree half-heartedly, only to cancel last minute. When we did go out with friends, he always found an excuse to leave early: a headache, not feeling well, didn't sleep properly. I knew exactly what it was. He wanted to go home and smoke in peace. Most of his friends were similar. They'd sit around, smoking for hours, laughing at the same inside jokes, repeating stories that stopped being funny after the third telling. It started to wear on me deeply. I'd sit across from him at dinner and feel more isolated than when I was alone. I missed the man who used to dance with me in the kitchen, who'd pull over on road trips just because the sunset looked beautiful or a small food shack caught his eye. I still loved him. That was the hardest part. I loved him, and I felt like I was watching him deteriorate from the inside out. No matter how much I begged, cried, reasoned, or offered support, he couldn't or wouldn't pull himself out of it. I'm not proud of what happened next. I was out one night with a couple of coworkers. Things had just started opening up again. And honestly, I just needed to be around people who felt alive. We ended up at a quiet bar, and I started talking to someone at the next table. I wasn't seeking anything, but he was witty, sharp, and truly present, not staring at a phone or zoning out, just talking to me as if I mattered. I realized how long it had been since I'd felt that connection. He noticed my ring, and I told him the truth. I was unhappily married. He didn't press, just nodded, and we continued talking for a while. I went home that night thinking it was nothing. But then he messaged me. We started chatting more, no flirting, just genuine conversations about music, films, books, things that reminded me I still had my own interests and opinions. I didn't sleep with him, not right away. But I did fall for him emotionally first. Some might say that's worse. I kept trying to be honest with myself, to distance myself, to give my husband another chance. But I was falling apart inside. Every time I got home, my husband would be back on the couch, red-eyed, mumbling through some online video or over a half-eaten pizza. I told him I couldn't continue. I still loved him, but I couldn't live this way. I told him I felt like I was drowning next to someone who didn't even notice I was gasping for air. He broke down. He promised he'd quit for good this time. He threw out everything: pipes, grinders, bags, even the hoodie he always wore when he smoked. Cold turkey. I didn't believe it would last. I had seen the pattern too many times. He was devastated, and part of me was too, but the damage had been building for over a year. My heart had already begun to detach. The divorce proceeded more quickly than I expected. We didn't argue over money or possessions, mostly just sadness and silence. I found my own apartment a few neighborhoods away. I wasn't alone for long. The man I had met had been patient throughout, never pushing, always respecting boundaries. After my separation, we started spending more time together, diners, long walks, small road trips out of the city. He made me laugh, and I felt a warmth with him that didn't carry the weight of guilt or past issues. Eventually, I moved in with him. It felt fast, even to me, but I think I was desperate for something that felt hopeful again, and for a while, it was good. Still is, in many ways. He's stable, emotionally present, and kind. He doesn't get defensive when I'm upset or tune out when I need support. He listens. He makes space for me. But my ex never truly left the picture. We share many mutual friends and live nearby, so running into him was unavoidable. At first, it was awkward and tense, especially if I was with my new partner. But over time, we found an odd routine, casual texts about things we still coned, random links that reminded us of old inside jokes. He'd ask about my job, and I'd ask about his mom. Nothing deep, nothing that crossed boundaries. But I noticed something. He stayed clean long after I thought he'd relapse. He remained sober, not just from weed, but completely focused. He joined a hiking group and started traveling with friends. He even flew to Colorado for a week-long photography workshop. His eyes were clear, his voice lighter. He wasn't that muted, shadowy version of himself anymore. And seeing him like that, fully present, awake again, it devastated me. Because of this was the man I married. The man who would pull over just to watch the sunset, who loved me with a quiet steadfastness and made even the most mundane things feel like adventures. And I missed him. I missed him so much. I told myself it was nostalgia, that I was seeing him through rose-tinted glasses. But every time we crossed paths, I'd feel it like a punch to the gut, the ache of something I lost, something I left behind. Then came the party. It was a birthday celebration for a mutual friend. I knew he would be there. My new partner was also invited, and while they are civil, it's clear they don't enjoy being in the same room. Still, I went, trying to keep things light, mingle, laugh, and maintain a safe distance from my ex. But at some point in the evening, I stepped out onto the balcony for some fresh air. He was already out there, the city lights spread out below us. We stood in silence for a minute, then he said quietly, "I miss you every day." I don't even remember what I said back. My throat was tight, my eyes stinging. I wanted to grab him, shake him, and ask why he couldn't have done this before. Why it had to take breaking everything for him to come back to life. I didn't say any of that. I just stood there, heart cracking open, and he looked at me as if he still loved me. I didn't know how to handle that. The air between us was heavy with everything we weren't saying. I kept my arms crossed, trying to steady my breathing, as if somehow, if I didn't move, the weight of that moment wouldn't crush me. He didn't reach for me. He didn't push. He just said, "I know I messed everything up, but I'm not high anymore. I see it all clearly now. I still love you. I always will." I almost broke down in tears right there. And the worst part, I wanted so badly to say it back, to tell him I still loved him too. That I missed him every single day, that I'd kept some of our old pictures hidden in a file I still opened when I was alone, that sometimes I still slept in one of his old shirts when my partner was away. That I'd wondered more than once what would have happened if I had just waited, held on a little longer. But I didn't say any of that. Instead, I mumbled something, like, "I'm happy for you," and made up an excuse to go back inside. I couldn't look at him anymore. I couldn't trust myself not to say something I'd regret. Back inside, my partner was chatting with a friend and smiled when he saw me. That smile, so warm, so earnest, just added another layer of guilt to the storm in my chest. Because I do love him. He's been nothing but good to me, supportive, steady. He was there when I was at my lowest. He didn't deserve to be a second choice or a consolation prize. But lately, it's like I'm constantly split down the middle. Like I gave up on something that wasn't fully dead yet. Like I moved on too quickly. Like I was too afraid of being alone to let myself grieve properly before falling into something new. It's consuming me. I never imagined I'd be in this position, mourning a marriage that technically ended by my decision. Regretting the timing, second-guessing myself while trying to be fair to a man who has never done anything but love me the right way. But the guilt is getting heavier every day. I'm scared that no matter what I do now, someone will end up heartbroken. Either I stay in this relationship and keep pretending like I don't think about my ex every time I pass our old street, or I walk away again, this time from someone who hasn't even done anything wrong, and just repeat the same cycle. I can't shake the feeling that I made a mistake, that I left someone just when he was on the verge of turning his life around. And now I get to watch him become the version of himself I always hoped would come back, but from the outside as a friend, as an example, as someone who gave up. But then I remember the nights I cried alone in our bedroom while he dozed off, glassy-eyed and unreachable. I remember canceling plans with friends because I couldn't keep covering for his absence. I remember the resentment building every time he said, "I'll quit," and didn't. That version of him wasn't a future, it was a cage. Still, I can't stop wondering, was I supposed to hold out longer? Was there a future where he got clean and we rebuilt together? Or am I just rewriting the past because I miss the comfort of someone who knew me better than anyone else ever has? And if I am still in love with him, what do I do now? He hasn't brought up that night since. We've texted a couple of times, mostly superficial stuff, but I can't stop thinking about it, about him, about us. My current partner doesn't suspect anything, and I haven't acted on anything inappropriate. I haven't cheated physically, but emotionally, I'm completely entangled. And I don't know how to untangle this without destroying something in the process. I feel like I'm standing at a crossroads, only I don't know which path leads to healing and which one leads to more regret. I'm not here to justify what I did. I know I hurt people. I just don't want to keep making things worse. How do you know, when you've truly moved on? How do you know if the love you left behind is worth risking everything for, or if it's just the echo of what used to be? Listener responses. Comment 1. This was quite intense to read. You were emotionally involved with someone else while still married. Told your husband you wanted a divorce, and then immediately moved on with that same person. Now you're attributing your deviation to your husband's past weed use, and suddenly, it's a maybe I made a mistake situation now that he's doing well without you. Honestly, this is a clear case of emotional disloyalty and a lack of accountability. He got clean after you left. Perhaps you were a catalyst, sure, but you also departed before he had completed the necessary work. Now that he's back to being someone desirable, you want him back. It's almost poetically dark how you're now struggling precisely because he's thriving. Comment 2. Information request. Can you clarify the timeline? From what I'm reading, you were emotionally unfaithful during your marriage. Told your husband you met someone new, and then he immediately quit that day. But you still left and found your own place right away, then quickly moved in with a new man. That's not about loving someone who was lost. That's choosing to replace them before they even had a chance to recover. You can't claim his dependence made you feel helpless and then disregard the fact that you were already forming a bond with another man before the marriage ended. You left him for your new partner, and now you're feeling sentimental because you're realizing the grass isn't always greener. I hope your ex continues to recover and finds someone who truly chooses him, not someone who watched him struggle and walked away. Comment 3. You're receiving a lot of criticism for infidelity, and I won't add to that. However, I do want to emphasize this. The relationship you're currently in is on unstable ground. You didn't allow yourself time to process, grieve, or reflect on a 10-year marriage. You went from years of frustration into a fresh start with a new partner, all while still harboring deep feelings for your ex. That's a recipe for emotional distress, especially for your current boyfriend, who likely believes he's your anchor, not your temporary fix. If you're still thinking about your ex this intensely, the honest thing to do is discuss it with your current partner. Otherwise, you're setting him up for heartbreak while you endure unresolved guilt and emotional confusion. Therapy, journaling, just don't let another person bear the burden of your internal turmoil. Update from original poster. First of all, I knew posting this would provoke strong reactions. That's fair. I put myself in this position by sharing something complicated and painful. But I didn't anticipate being vilified to this extent, called a cheater, heartless, even soulless by some of you. So, I wanted to clarify a few points and present the complete picture before everyone continues to twist the story to fit the cold-hearted woman abandons loyal husband narrative. Was I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I regret how everything unfolded? Yes, every single day. But there's something incredibly convenient about everyone labeling me the villain. When none of you experienced living with a man who disappeared into smoke and silence for 2 years. Let me reiterate, I loved my husband. I waited, encouraged, pleaded, supported, and stood by him through the absolute worst of his addiction. Do you know what it feels like to sleep beside someone for a decade and suddenly feel like they've become a stranger who can't even look you in the eye unless they're high? Do you know how many nights I lay awake crying while he was passed out on the couch, or mumbling incoherently through bloodshot eyes? It's not like I met someone at a bar and thought, time to upgrade. I was emotionally deprived for years. Yes, I met someone before I left. Yes, we talked. But no, I wasn't planning an affair. I didn't even intend for it to go beyond that initial conversation. But when you've been invisible in your own marriage for so long and someone finally truly sees you again, hears you, it's disorienting. It breaks something open. I didn't jump into someone else's arms because I wanted to be unfaithful. I broke. I needed connection. And for the record, I didn't physically cheat. Emotionally, yes, perhaps I did, but only after months, years, being emotionally abandoned myself. People keep saying, but he quit for you. Let's be honest, he quit after I left, after he hit rock bottom, after he saw what he was about to lose. And yes, that's remarkable. I'm proud of him. I'm genuinely happy he got clean. But he didn't take it seriously until the consequences finally caught up. How long was I supposed to wait? Another 6 months. Another year. When you're watching someone spiral and your heart is already shattered, there comes a point where you can't keep sacrificing yourself for the sake of potential. I've never tried to portray myself as a victim. I do feel remorse. I regret a lot, but I also know I tried to salvage that marriage. I fought hard. I went to therapy alone when he refused to go. I stayed long after the love transformed into quiet suffering. And when I finally left, it wasn't because I wanted someone better. It was because I couldn't keep living like a ghost in my own life. What truly hurts is how many people are celebrating my ex now that he's thriving but act like he didn't spend years disengaged and emotionally unavailable. Addiction doesn't excuse everything, but it does explain how we reached this point. Yet, I'm the one being torn apart for reaching for a lifeline. When I was sinking, I know this relationship might not last. I know I probably should have taken more time between the divorce and moving on. But can you truly blame me for needing warmth? For needing love? After 2 years of cold silence? I didn't post here to avoid blame. I came here because I'm confused and hurting. Because I know I hurt someone I still care about, and I'm haunted by the idea that I walked away too soon. But I'm also angry that the years of emotional abandonment seem to count for nothing, just because he finally got it together after the fact. You don't have to agree with me, but I wanted to at least try to explain why it all happened. I didn't emotionally cheat because I'm selfish. I did so because I was already broken and alone. Thank you for watching the video. If you're interested in hearing more stories like these, we have more in store for you. Simply subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, and share it with your friends.